When was the last time you found a truly great war movie? For free? Not a blurry upload or bootleg copy, but the real deal, cinematic, powerful, and 100% legit. From tense escapes to sky battles that rewrote history, these films don't just entertain, they recreate courage under impossible odds. Each one is streaming free on YouTube right now officially. So, grab your seat because these 10 classics prove that some legends of World War II never grow old, they just went online. The Great Escape, 1963. This wasn't just a movie, it was a great act of cinematic rebellion. The Great Escape took a real wartime event and turned it into one of the most exhilarating ensemble films ever made. Starring Steve McQueen, Richard Attenborough, and James Garner, it follows Allied prisoners plotting one of history's most daring breakouts from a German camp designed to be escape-proof. What makes it so gripping isn't just the action, it's the spirit. Every tunnel dug, every diversion, staged feels like a victory of wit over fear. McQueen's motorcycle chase, filmed without digital tricks, became one of cinema's immortal sequences. Behind the scenes, real veterans advised the production, ensuring that even the smallest details like the coded messages and forged papers mirrored the truth. The film's charm lies in its tone. It's thrilling without being grim, humorous without being disrespectful. Beneath the swagger and humor is an undeniable melancholy because many who inspired the story never made it home. The Great Escape isn't about perfect heroes. It's about ordinary men who refuse to surrender their will. And if you've never seen McQueen's cool defiance as he revs that Triumph bike, it's time you join the escape. The Longest Day, 1962. If history books came to life, they'd look a lot like The Longest Day. This black and white epic captures the D-Day invasion of Normandy with such realism that it feels almost documentary. Shot with a massive international cast, including John Wayne, Henry Fonda, and Sean Connery, it tells the story from every perspective. The Americans storming the beaches, the British parachuting behind enemy lines, the French resistance signaling from within, and even the German officers bracing for impact. It's meticulous, multilingual, and staggeringly ambitious. Over 10,000 extras recreated the chaos and coordination of June 6, 1944, the moment that turned the tide of the war. But what sets this film apart isn't its scale, it's its honesty. There's no single hero here. The heroes are the planners, the soldiers, the medics, the nameless faces caught in the storm. Every scene has the precision of a history lesson and the pulse of a thriller. You can feel the tension in every misfired plan, every delayed landing, every gamble that could have failed. And for a film made in the early 60s, its use of real locations and multilingual dialogue was revolutionary. The Longest Day proves that truth handled with respect and craft can be more cinematic than fiction. A Bridge Too Far, 1977. Failure can be cinematic too, and A Bridge Too Far proves it. Based on the real Operation Market Garden, the film chronicles the Allies' bold but doomed attempt to seize bridges across the Netherlands to end the war early. The title itself comes from an officer's weary admission that their ambitions had literally stretched too far. With an ensemble cast led by Sean Connery, Michael Caine, Anthony Hopkins, and Gene Hackman, this film is less about victory and more about human overreach. It shows how even the most brilliant military minds can falter under pressure logistics and the unpredictable chaos of war. Filmed partly on actual locations with real equipment, it captures the exhaustion, confusion, and heartbreak that strategy books never mention. Director Richard Attenborough's attention to realism is relentless, from parachute drops filmed with hundreds of extras to the nerve-wracking bridge defense sequences shot at authentic Dutch sites. Yet, despite its grim outcome, the film has an odd beauty. It's the beauty of courage and futility, men holding the line long after the odds have turned against them. In a world of movies that glorify triumph, A Bridge Too Far celebrates endurance. It's long, complex, and completely mesmerizing, a reminder that even missteps can be monumental. Battle of Britain, 1969. Some films make you look up literally. Battle of Britain takes to the skies to show one of the most pivotal confrontations of the 20th century. Britain's stand against relentless air assaults in 1940. This wasn't just a battle, it was survival with wings. What makes this movie unforgettable is its authenticity. Director Guy Hamilton, of James Bond fame. Used actual World War-era aircraft, not models, not miniatures, but real Spitfires and Messerschmitts flown by skilled pilots. The result is breathtaking aerial cinematography that feels immediate and terrifyingly real. There's no CGI gloss, just sunlight flashing off propellers and the thunder of engines in open skies. Yet, it's not all about spectacle. The film captures the exhaustion, the tension, and the psychological weight on both sides. The officers argue over tactics while young pilots face the cruel mathematics of survival. Civilian bombings, sleepless nights, and the calm before each sortie. Every detail adds to the haunting realism. It's also quietly patriotic, without ever feeling boastful. Instead of glorifying war, it honors persistence, that unshakable British resolve that held back a seemingly unstoppable force. Watching it today, you understand why it's more than a war film. It's a portrait of courage written in vapor trails across the sky. The Desert Fox, the story of Rommel, 1951. Before anti-heroes were fashionable, there was The Desert Fox. This daring biographical drama follows Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, one of the most complex figures of World War II, portrayed by the great James Mason. Instead of a one-dimensional villain, the film shows a brilliant strategist wrestling with loyalty, morality, and the crushing weight of conscience. Released only a few years after the war, The Desert Fox was controversial for its time. It dared to humanize a German officer depicting Rommel as a man who gradually realizes the disastrous direction his country is heading. The film balances tense battlefield scenes with personal introspection, his clashes with higher command, his internal conflicts, and his growing awareness of what's truly at stake. James Mason's performance anchors the story with intelligence and quiet sorrow. He doesn't play Rommel as a saint, but as a soldier trapped by duty and history. The black and white cinematography lends the film an elegance that mirrors its restraint. No excess, no melodrama, just a steady focus on character and consequence. What makes The Desert Fox still powerful today is its perspective. It reminds viewers that morality in wartime isn't simple. It's a maze of choices made in shadows. Watching it now, you'll see why it remains one of the most thought-provoking films ever made about leadership pride and the price of conscience. The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Some missions sound impossible until they happen, and the Guns of Navarone made that idea legendary. This pulse-pounding adventure, based on Alistair MacLean's novel, brings together Gregory Peck, David Niven, and Anthony Quinn as a ragtag team tasked with destroying giant coastal guns that threaten Allied ships. It's the perfect mix of grit, wit, and spectacle. From the first climb up the towering cliffs to the final explosion echoing through the Aegean, every frame screams cinematic craftsmanship. Yet behind its thrilling story lies a surprising amount of realism. The movie drew heavily from true Allied commando raids in the Mediterranean, right down to the sabotage tactics and the teamwork under pressure. The dynamic between the characters is where it really shines. Niven's sarcastic charm, Peck's stoic determination, Quinn's fiery temper, it's human drama set against inhuman stakes. Director J. Lee Thompson filmed on rugged Greek islands where storms, rough terrain, and unpredictable tides made every shoot a battle in itself. But what makes the Guns of Navarone timeless isn't just its action. It's the idea that courage can come from exhaustion, defiance, or even doubt. These weren't superheroes, they were men with shaky hands and sleepless eyes. And that makes their triumphs all the more satisfying. Decades later, the movie still stands tall as one of the best war epics, and now it's free to stream in glorious vintage form. Tora, 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 1970. If you want a masterclass in historical filmmaking, start here. Tora, Tora, Tora doesn't just tell the story of Pearl Harbor, it reconstructs it with surgical precision. What sets it apart is balance. Instead of showing the attack from only one side, the film gives equal weight to the American and Japanese perspectives, portraying how a decade of misunderstandings and miscalculations led to one of history's most shocking days. It's a film without cartoon villains. There's honor, hesitation, and tragic inevitability on both sides. Every scene hums with quiet tension, from intercepted codes to anxious commanders realizing too late what's about to unfold. The filmmakers consulted mountains of declassified reports, diaries, and transcripts to ensure accuracies, and it shows. The recreated aerial battles were so realistic that real pilots performed hundreds of flight hours to make them look authentic. Co-directed by American and Japanese teams, the movie feels like a cinematic bridge between nations, an unusual collaboration that mirrored the reconciliation that came years later. There are no melodramatic speeches, no glamorous heroes, just the mechanics of human error colliding with destiny. When the final attack begins, the editing and practical effects still astonish. You're not watching spectacle. You're witnessing history replay itself with honesty and restraint. Tora, Tora, Tora reminds us that war isn't born from hatred alone. Sometimes it's born from silence and cross signals. Sink the Bismarck, 1960. Few war movies manage to be this taut, this respectful, and this purely cinematic. Sink the Bismarck focuses on the Royal Navy's desperate hunt for the German battleship Bismarck, a real-life mission that tested courage, strategy, and sheer endurance on the open sea. What's fascinating about this film is its storytelling style. It's not just a sea chase, it's a chess match played on waves. Kenneth More stars as Captain Jonathan Shepard, a man haunted by loss and burdened by responsibility. His counterpart, portrayed by Dana Winter, adds intelligence and humanity to a narrative that could have easily become just another naval victory story. Shot in black and white, the film's realism is startling. Director Lewis Gilbert used actual British Navy archives, detailed ship models, and precise map sequences to capture the slow, nerve-wracking pursuit. The tension builds not through loud battles, but through decisions waiting for radar blips, analyzing strategy, second-guessing every move. The movie captures something rare, the weight of leadership. It's about what happens between battles, the pauses, the waiting, the people staring into fog, hoping to make the right call. Sink the Bismarck is a film about control chance and quiet bravery. Watching it free today, you realize that some stories don't need color or modern effects, just truth told well. Hell in the Pacific, 1968. Imagine a war movie with only 2 actors and barely any dialogue that still keeps you glued to the screen. That's Hell in the Pacific. It stars Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune as 2 stranded soldiers, 1 American and 1 Japanese, marooned on a deserted island during World War II. Enemies by definition, survivors by circumstance, they must choose between fighting each other or working together. What follows is a masterclass in tension and irony. At first, they battle for dominance, setting traps, stealing supplies, outsmarting one another. But as hunger, exhaustion, and the endless ocean close in grudging respect begins to replace rage. Without flashy battles or politics, the film becomes something deeper, a study of pride, fear, and fragile humanity. Director John Borman filmed entirely on location in the Pacific, using natural light and real ocean storms to create a sense of isolation that's almost physical. Mifune, famous for his roles in Japanese samurai epics, refused to speak English in the film, adding a layer of realism to the communication gap. Marvin himself, a war veteran, matched that intensity with raw authenticity. Hell in the Pacific may be quiet, but it roars with meaning. It strips away uniforms and orders to ask one simple question. What's left when you take the sides away? The answer lingers long after the credits roll. The Bridge at Remagen, 1969. By the time The Bridge at Remagen hit theaters, audiences had seen countless tales of World War II bravery, but none quite like this. Set during the final days of the war, it follows American forces racing to capture one last bridge across the Rhine before it's destroyed. Sounds straightforward? It isn't. The movie blurs the lines between strategy, survival, and exhaustion, showing soldiers on both sides simply trying to finish something that's already broken them. George Segal and Ben Gazzara lead the cast with a balance of charisma and weariness. They don't play superheroes. They play men too tired to care about glory, but too loyal to stop fighting. What makes it powerful is how it humanizes everyone, even the supposed enemy. The German commander, played by Robert Vaughn, knows his side has lost, but still faces impossible orders, mirroring the absurdity of war's final days. The production itself was as dramatic as the story. Filmed in Czechoslovakia during a politically tense period, shooting had to be halted as real tanks rolled nearby. Yet that authenticity bleeds through every scene, the mud, the noise, the fatigue. The Bridge at Remagen closes this list perfectly because it's not about victory, it's about endurance. The bridge stands as both a literal crossing and a metaphor, the fragile link between chaos and peace. Watching it free today feels like rediscovering the moment when war movies learned to be honest. So, there you have it. 10 World War II classics you can stream for free, no subscriptions, no catch, just cinematic history waiting at your fingertips. From the skies over Britain to the beaches of Normandy, each one tells a story of grit, error, and resilience that still echoes through time. Which one will you watch first? Drop your pick in the comments, like if you found a favorite, and subscribe for more hidden treasures that time forgot, but YouTube didn't.